Nothing unites nations quite like the World Game. 6 cities in Brazil have welcomed 8 teams for the carnival. From the smallest to the greatest. What a party it has been.
Musa away there by Valar, breaks the hit to Gile, and the shot deflects, and the first goal of Nigeria's. And Jacquerini scores, and Pedro, oh, Torres! And it could still come down for Dado's ball in, Chicharito!
But now only 4 remain. It's an all-South American matchup this morning, a game that brings back memories of the 1950 World Cup final match here in Brazil. The dark times have long passed, and in Neymar, the Seleção look to have unearthed another world beater.
Shot comes in! What a start! And you know, Neymar for Brazil!
Uruguay has its own precocious talents, none more so than in attack.
And now Diego Forlan! 100 caps, a memorable goal. Suarez, beautiful!
It's Brazil versus Uruguay from the 2013 FIFA Confederations Cup, live on SBS. 10 years to the day, Mark Vivian Foe passed away during the semi-finals of the Confederations Cup. Today's match at the Estadio Mineirão in Belo Horizonte, one of the most historic football venues in Brazil, provides a fitting stage to celebrate his life. Despite protests away from the pitch, Brazil's on-field performances have not suffered, and the new generation of stars are really beginning to shine. The Seleção are at full strength today, with midfielder Paulinho returning to the side, having set out the last group game. Uruguay struggled in their opening match, losing to Spain, but went on to win their next 2 games and will need no extra motivation against their South American rivals. Oscar Tabares keeps faith with Diego Forlan in attack alongside Luis Suarez and Cava.
It's very good pairing, but the problem is that Tabares now has an issue in terms of how to utilise all 3 of them effectively, because you've got all that talent there, but it's a question of using them effectively. I think in the past he has used them with Forlan playing behind the front 2, or sometimes Cavani's been utilised out wide, but I know that in the game against Nigeria, I think it was, Forlan actually played out wide, Cavani plays as a number 9, and Suarez was wide on the right-hand side. So it just depends on what he decides to do on the day in terms of how he wants to utilise those 3 players.
Your thoughts on Zdula, on how this might turn out?
Look, we spoke earlier about the history of this game, and that's what Uruguay are going to need to draw on if they're going to get a result, because form, everything's pointing towards Brazil. They've been devastating. They've got Neymar who's playing well. They've got all their players have had very good seasons, and whereas Uruguay have really struggled and they haven't produced their best football, haven't for some time now. So really, I find it hard to see anything but a Brazil win in this game, but I'm hoping the approach from Uruguay is a more positive one than the one I saw against Spain.
You concur, Franny?
I think hopefully the match against Brazil will bring the best out of Uruguay. I think that they will lift for this for sure, because this is a massive game for them, and I think if you're going to be motivated, this is a game to be motivated to play. So I think it'll probably be Brazil will win, but I think it'll be a closer game than we would expect.
Okay, leading them out was referee Enrique Oces of Chile, and after the anthems, your commentator will be Peter Drury.
da Seleção Brasileira de Futebol, declaro que rejeitamos qualquer tipo de discriminações, seja racial, de gênero, origem e ética, religiões, sexualidade e outras naturezas. Através do poder do futebol, podemos ajudar e livrar o nosso esporte e a nossa sociedade do racismo e da discriminação. Assumimos o compromisso de seguir através dos objetivos e contamos com todos vocês.
Declaro que condenamos todo tipo de discriminación en el fútbol y hacemos un llamamiento a todos los que nos estén viendo hoy en todo el mundo para que nos ayuden a erradicar la discriminación de nuestra sociedad y a integrar a todos en el fútbol. Si todos nos unimos, podemos lograrlo. Di no a la discriminación, di no al racismo.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the national anthem of Uruguay. Senhoras e senhores, por favor, levantem-se para o hino nacional do Uruguai. And now, the national anthem of Brazil. E agora, o hino nacional do Brasil.
That is quite something. That is quite something. They need no accompaniment. And so the formal greetings, their first meeting since a World Cup qualifier in Montevideo 4 years ago. Dani Alves was a scorer then in a 4-0 win for Brazil, who are unbeaten in the last 6 meetings. It is 12 years since a Uruguayan win, more than 20 since a Uruguayan win in Brazil. It seems pretty easy to pick the Brazil team right now. In fact, whilst it is functioning this smoothly, it is pretty well self-selecting. This is the 11 with which Scolari began the competition. That means Paulinho is fit again and reclaims his midfield berth from Hernanes. Otherwise, it's the side which saw off Italy 4 days ago in Salvador, including David Luiz, who was injured during that game. Once more, the message is broadcast internationally. It is a clear and comprehensible one in whatever language you communicate. Racism has no place in this game. Healthy patriotism certainly does. And the mixing of the players is, of course, emblematic of the message. Interesting that with England's Howard Webb overseeing the Spain-Italy semi-final tomorrow, FIFA have delegated to each semi an official in keeping with its continental identity. This is Enrique Oces from Santiago in Chile. Chilean officials and the 4th official from El Salvador. Even disregarding the completely fresh side that Tavares picked for the stroll against Tahiti on Sunday, he has been much more inclined to tinker around the edges. He does have his captain Lugano back from a suspension that he barely will have felt. Scotty sent off on Sunday cannot play here, but essentially they return quite naturally to their first 11. Cavani, Suarez, Forlan, much goals potential there. At the back, Caceres wins a 50th cap. Ten years ago today in Lyon, Marc-Vivien Foé, an immensely popular footballer in his native Cameroon and in France and England where he played club football, died playing for his country in a Confederations Cup semi-final, and he is to be fondly remembered here. Marc-Vivien Foé, all of us who saw him play will remember most his smile. And the game goes on, and today, what a game. Near on 100 years at each other's throat, and here they are, ready to go at it hammer and tongs again. There are some in this city, in this country, who consider this an even more important fixture than Brazil-Argentina. Uruguay, the younger cousins, the supposed inferiors from across the border, who have had a habit down the years of making life awkward for the big boys from Brazil. The climax of the 1950 World Cup is where the rivalry got most stoked up. The Maracanazo, when Uruguay won it on Brazilian soil. But before then, since then, there has been so much to raise the stakes in this game. And this time they play for a place in a major final. And for all that that means ahead of the major event a year from now. David Luiz, who did have to hobble out of the last game against Italy, but who is fit again now. Dani Alves, who scored the winning goal in the Confederations Cup semi-final 4 years ago. Paulinho. Luis Gustavo. Marcelo. Whipped in towards Fred. Carried away by the returning Lugano, who was fortunate in some senses that his suspension coincided with the gentle game against Tahiti at the weekend. Many of these players, of course, from either side know each other not just because of frequent international meetings, but because their paths cross, particularly in major European club football. And here is Oscar of Chelsea, running into Diego Godin of Atletico Madrid. There are two World Cup winning coaches next door to each other. Scolari, who won it last time for Brazil in 2002. Carlos Alberto Pereira, their technical coordinator, who was in charge in 1994. What an abundance of experience to have on the same bench. Luis rather twitchily away from Diego Forlan. The Uruguay team should be fresh, with the exception of Luis Suarez, who played the last 20 minutes at Recife on Sunday. The rest of the side have gone 6 days without kicking a competitive ball. Maxi Pereira from right full back with their throw. Luis headed it against his own man and behind. He's been in the wars in this competition, has David Luis. His nose broken one day, and had to be carried off the next. But he's still okay to go on. He has conceded this corner, for which Cavani is a natural target. Godin is in the mix, and Suarez too. Chilean referee trying to keep peace. Forlan's delivery. Partially cleared, but only partially. And now finally lifted away so that Arevalo has to go and gather. Forward by Gonzalez, taken back only momentarily by Paulinho. Alves. Silva. Luis. Marcelo. Luis Gustavo for Bayern Munich. Overran it, Suarez took it, Forlan can look to play it. Gustavo got back into a defensive area. Pereira. Cavani. Gonzalez. He's clubbed that behind, and there is Oscar Tabarez, coach of the reigning South American champions, and how he and they love that tag, particularly when they carry it here into Brazil. Neymar will be a particular source of concern to him. He scored spectacularly and early in the first couple of games, and then with a second half free kick in the third game. Tabarez respectful but wily. He will have a plan. Against Brazil, Uruguay always have a plan. Fred for Neymar. Holt couldn't gather. Cavani twitched it away. Alves took it back. Oscar nicks it wide. Alves plays it in. Brave diving header from Lugano, and a decent clearance too. Suarez takes it up. Runs into Silva. Hit early by Gonzalez. Just too much for Cavani. Marcelo. Hulk. Goes back by Pereira. Paulinho caught on it. Marcelo came to try and get it back, but slithered so that Cavani stuck it instead. Rodriguez. Caceres. Eagerness from Fred, which rather embarrassed Gonzalez. Neymar. Holt can't burst through. Lugano clears. It's interesting, incidentally, that Uruguay are playing the same 11 as they fielded against Nigeria, but whereas against the Africans then they played three central defenders, Pereira at right wing back and Rodriguez left wing back. This time they have started with a back four. Problem with the match ball. Cavani and the referee are happy now. Some discontent that Cavani took what appeared to be a competitive throw, but it was put right by Lugano's wise decision to play it all the way through for Julio Cesar. Incidentally, one talks a lot about the strength of rivalry between Brazil and Uruguay. It certainly exists, but make no mistake, it is a friendly sporting rivalry. The countries are not just geographically close, but allied in every sense else as well. They are good friends. Seems to me that Brazilians are good friends with just about anyone who wants to be their friend. If you've got a ball and a bit of beach, you can be the friend of a Brazilian. Forward by Godin. And by Suarez. By Gustavo. Safely away by Cesar. Godin. Alves, read by Caceres. Thiago Silva. Marcelo. Holt. Out by Godin. Neymar. Marcelo's a long way forward down the left side. No route to him. Alves is a long way forward down the right side. Paulinho, Neymar. And harmlessly out. Neymar, the poster boy of the Confederations Cup. It may well be that he becomes so for the World Cup too. It's a remarkable record that Brazil have in this relatively young competition. Their 7th participation in the Confederations Cup and the 6th time they've reached the semi-finals. Cesar. Alves. Slides it out. Of the previous 5 semi-finals, they've lost only one to France in Suwon, Korea in 2001. Gonzalez. Pereira. Out by Luis Gustavo from in front of Cavani. Uruguay also reached the semi-finals in their only previous Confederations Cup involvement in 1997. They lost then to an extra-time goal from Harry Kewell of Australia. Must be given a little help by Pereira as he went aground, and it is a free kick in favour of Brazil. Luis. High, but none too handsome from Marcelo. Helped on its way by Luis Gustavo. Then nicked forward to Suarez, who loves to run a defender. Away from Thiago Silva. Luis Gustavo was dogged and determined, necessarily so. He'd yielded possession in the first instance and owed it to his team to make good the error. Once more, Maxi Pereira of Benfica. Portugal can wind up to go long with the throw. And squirted behind by Thiago Silva for another corner. It's not a bad start, this, by Uruguay. Suarez an ever-present source of potential danger. And typically Uruguayan, insofar as he loves to get under the skin of an opponent, particularly a supposed superior. Forlan's outswinger, referee's seen a push. He's shown a yellow card, and he's awarded a penalty. Well, the Chilean official has looked into a crowd there, and what has he spotted? Cavani was wrestling with Thiago Silva. Luis, on the penalty spot, had hold of Lugano, and it is Luis who is in the book for that wrestling match with Lugano. And this fixture, which always throws up a big story, has thrown one up inside its first 15 minutes. Diego Forlan, the iconic face of Uruguayan football, the man for all seasons. For a decade and more, the smiling man at the front of the Uruguayan team, the spearhead, a lover of the game, loved by his nation. Put yourself in his boots. Diego Forlan. Save from Julio Cesar, national hero. Ear-splitting response. He had a fair way to go. That is no ordinary save. That is a big penalty save. Forlan denied from the spot. Massive Uruguayan opportunity gets away. Forlan's corner. Almost came out to Rodriguez. It's swept away though by Oscar. And Brazil are off the hook. They are yet to fall behind in this competition. Still. And it's the third penalty that Uruguay have had in the last 4 days. They missed one, or had one saved, in the person of Scotty against Tahiti, frankly meaninglessly at the weekend. Then Abel Hernandez scored one for them in the same game, and now Forlan has had one missed, or had one saved, anything but meaninglessly. That was a great save. Neymar. Out for Cavani, who's run away from Oscar and dabs it past Luis Gustavo. Marcelo. What a gorgeous take. And now Oscar can run at them. Oscar's hit over. Oh, maybe Brazil needed waking. With 60,000 screaming for you, that ought not to be the case. Oh, there is the issue, and Luis was trying to rob Lugano of his shirt. It's a very good spot by the Chilean official. He's absolutely right to give it. Forlan hit it crisply enough. Julio Cesar had to plunge to his bottom corner. Not much wrong with Forlan's take. Everything right about Cesar's reaction to it. And he is swamped by yellow shirts. And Luis, after a really ill-advised challenge, is lucky to have got away with it. I have to tell you, incidentally, whether that is some sort of omen for what lies ahead in the rest of this afternoon, who knows? But the last two times that Brazil have played in a one-off tournament match against Uruguay, it has gone in the end to a penalty shootout. And on both of those occasions in recent Copa America semi-finals, 2004 and 2007, Brazil have won from the penalty spot. It may be that we're in for a long evening. Luis. By Lugano from behind Oscar. Marcelo's throw, Luis. Early part of the game here has, broadly speaking, belonged to Uruguay. Luis Gustavo, Neymar. He hasn't really had a chance to twinkle yet, but he gets a free kick now as a result of that foul by Alvaro Gonzalez. Neymar. Oscar. Neymar. Marcelo. Hulk. Corner yielded eventually by Caceres. Sturdy piece of defending. The Juventus left full back, winning tonight his 50th cap in the face of this grand Brazilian team, and in particular this forceful player Hulk, whose corner is headed away as far as Neymar. Wide again for Hulk, who's not for dispossessing, and breaks away from Gonzalez. In by Hulk, and out by Pereira. Brazil looking to lift it now. Neymar, foul by Cavani. And a yellow card for Cavani. Not the first player in this competition to see a yellow card for a foul on this little fella. He takes some stopping. Sometimes you have to bend the rules. Neymar's free kick, Headed behind by Arevalo. Another Italian-based player with Palermo. Lugano and Fred in fairly animated conversation. It's in again by Neymar. Nudged away for Arevalo to chase. His clearance was against Holt, so it's a Uruguayan throw. Serres with it. Alves in the way of it. Alves, what a pass. Marcelo, a lot of space. Neymar outside of him. Oscar through the middle. Fred up on the edge of the penalty area. Neymar. Bitten away from him by Cavani. Then played early by Rodriguez. Cavani. Pereira. Against Luis. First quarter of the game gone. Terrific intensity about it. Punched into the crowd by Marcelo, from whom an apology for any damage he might have done. I'm sure they were delighted just to get a touch. Flung in again by Pereira. Cesar came, Rodriguez loops his header up and over. A prolific goal scorer, Christian Rodriguez, in the national shirt. Defeat here of Cesar's decision to come and to punch. Decision that was vindicated by the outcome. His future's an interesting one. It's hard to believe he will play with Queen's Park Rangers in England again next year. They were relegated from the English Premier League. And indeed, he didn't even finish in the first team goal for QPR. Finished the season. So no doubt there are big clubs around Europe and potentially South America looking for his signature over coming days. Oscar. Paulinho. Ran into Lugano, no foul. One back by Neymar from Gonzalez. Neymar went over, again no foul. Out by Arevalo, now there's a foul on Suarez. It's a tough game for the Chilean official to deal with this. He is one of South America's top referees. Actually, he gave Argentina a penalty against Brazil in the Super Classico in Buenos Aires last November. A two-legged contest, which also went to penalties in the end. Forward by Lugano. Here's the moment of the match so far. Guess Forlan could have squeezed it closer to the post, but you know what, Julio Cesar had covered an awful lot of ground. And at Forlan's disconsolate expense, caused a lot of merriment amongst Brazilian supporters. here. And by Forlan, it's not, by the way, the first penalty he's missed against Brazil. Last time they did go to a shootout in the Confederations Cup semi-final of 2007. Forlan missed the first penalty off that shootout. But he's brave enough and big enough and bold enough to step up again. He has scored big penalties in subsequent shootouts, including the World Cup quarter-final against Ghana 3 years ago. Here's Holt, and again Holt. Fell for him a little fortuitously with Oscar in front of him, but for a moment it really seemed to have opened up. Strong in the first instance, but then off Oscar's perhaps inadvertent touch, some way off target. Still to score here, the Zenit St. Petersburg striker, which can't be said of Luis Suarez, who is banging them in with regularity. Followed by Cavani on Alves. Sharp elbow that, you know, Cavani must be careful. There's no question, quite significant contact was made there, and Alves, I don't think, is really over-dramatising. And remember, Cavani has already been booked. Forward by Thiago Silva, and allowed through by Lugano to Fernando Muslera. Still to the Uruguayan goal after his understudy, Martin Silva, had a most quiet afternoon against Tahiti. Alves. Now Rodriguez. Forlan, oh, that's close. Not a long way away from atoning for his failure from 12 yards. From 20 yards, he curled it to within, what, half a metre of the crossbar? Perhaps less. Tavares only just able to sit. He's twitching there on the edge. It is a game on the edge. And Luis Felipe Scolari is making no pretense at relaxation. Two guys who've been through the mill with their countries often enough before. 130 years between them. Both really old enough to know better and to put themselves through this ongoing stress. Free kick against Luis, handball. It's he who conceded the penalty for wrestling Lugano, and now he has a free kick to defend. Forlan to take. Beyond Cavani, Lugano around the back. After he'd seen another bit of pushing, this time on Thiago Silva. This time Lugano is the offender. Much in that one. And Silva is feeling it. Those two players have in common is Paris Saint-Germain. Lugano, who arrived at Malaga on loan from Paris in January. Thiago Silva, who fills his boots at centre-half. French World Cup winner Laurent Blanc has just been announced as the new coach of Paris Saint-Germain this week. Carlo Ancelotti has gone to Real Madrid, where he will have charge of Marcelo. There's Paulinho. And safely out by Caceres. Could have Dani Alves to wait whilst Caceres adjusts his boot. Alves. Neymar. Silva. Luis Gustavo. Thiago Silva, odd touch from him. Pounced upon by Suarez, kept by Forlan, forward by Aravalo. Falls for Luis Gustavo, and now Neymar can start something up for Brazil again. Marcelo. Comfortable take from Muslera. Rodriguez saw Cavani but couldn't locate him. Cavani trying to feed off the pass of Christian Rodriguez. Foul by Suarez. What a ball from Marcelo. Neymar running at Pereira and winning the corner. Carvalho having to stick close. Neymar needs someone close to him all the time. As we say in England, give him an inch and he'll take a mile. Neymar's delivery. Nudged away by Godin. Lugano hoped he had kept it in. The referee's assistant indicated otherwise. And Hulk has the corner. Alves showed short. And challenge to Muslera once more. The 13th game of the 2013 Confederations Cup. 35 minutes of it have gone without a goal, which is not in keeping with the competition as a whole. The first 12 games have produced 58 goals, rattling along at an average of nearly 5 per game. Admittedly, the Tahiti games contributed 25 to that, but even so. Here is Oscar, around Cavani, out by Lugano. Comes to Marcelo, driven in by Marcelo, tapped out again by Lugano, kept by Hulk, stolen on for Oscar, and then Marcelo, who's just kept on going here. Marcelo Fred! Wants the corner, not getting one. And we'll see how strong his case is. Marcelo was strong shoulder to shoulder with Pereira. And it is, in fairness, clear that Godin got the last touch. And Brazil should have a corner. Forlan penalised for that jump at Thiago Silva. But I think that there's a malicious bone in his body. Luis. Alves. Dean. Thiago Silva, that's easily readable by Cavani, who had perhaps more time on the ball than he knew then. Who lashed a hurried clearance away. Luis. Neymar. Hook's touch hasn't gone down well with the crowd. They are getting impatient now, the Brazilian followers. Some damage done to Rodriguez, and some edge in the game now. Well, there's been edge in the game for quite a while. And the wise old heads are seeing to it that some of the more fiery individuals are kept from each other's throats. Luis Gustavo is the third recipient of a yellow card. And Rodriguez is suffering as a result of that follow-through. I think there's little question that Luis Gustavo meant in the first instance to connect with the ball rather better, but his follow-through was reckless and could have been damaging. You can't really blame the referee for seeing that as a booking offence. Alves, Holt. Marched off it by Rodriguez. Notwithstanding the penalty save, it's a game that reminds me of Brazil's game against Italy at the end of the group stage, which was goalless right up until the very cusp of half-time, you'll remember, in Salvador, when Dante eventually broke through for Brazil. Here we are within 5 minutes of half-time now, and still awaiting that breakthrough. Forward by Paulinho, taken by Neymar, and Fred's in there, and scores! Brazilian breakthrough! It's Fred again! Once he starts scoring, there's very little stopping him. 2 goals to see off Italy on Saturday, and now he's tucking into the Uruguayan rivals. Back in the scoring mood. Lovely take from Neymar, good save initially from Muslera, but Fred just knew where to be. That's why he wears Brazil's number 9. He sniffs a goal. He just knows how. Some sympathy for Uruguay's keeper, who did everything he could. Miss-hit or deliberate, only he knows. But he found the corner, and he has 3 goals in the competition now, and he has Brazil, as things stand, heading for the final. Took him a while in this competition to find his goal-scoring gear, but my goodness me, he's found it now. And that is punishing for Uruguay, who've had such a great chance themselves to be in front. Long from Pereira. Suarez! Flag was already up. Rodriguez. Ceres. Arevalo. Gonzalez caught on it by Oscar. Who wriggles nimbly out of trouble. Neymar. Into Hulk. Caught from behind by Godin. Little matter, Uruguay have possession. They have a minute plus stoppage time to use that possession. Suarez going over Oscar. Didn't need to be too much contact for Suarez to take the free kick. Free kick that Forlan will deliver. Again, Lugano is forward. And although Forlan's free kick wasn't the best, the referee had seen a push anyway. Paulinho losing a little bit of blood. There have been a few feisty challenges. What this fixture means. There's going to be 2 minutes added on to the first 45. Fred. Alves. Paulinho. Got it back from Hulk. In by Fred and out by Lugano. Paulinho not able to go on while he's losing blood. The referee has to see to that. Neymar. Free kick Brazil. It's going to be a tough second half for the Chilean referee. There's a lot of feeling in this now. There had been some talk coming into the game from the Uruguayans that they believe Neymar is too willing to go to ground. And that is the accusation they're making against him now, Rodriguez in particular. However you interpret that moment, Muslera has a free kick to defend. No question Rodriguez did take away Neymar's ankle from beneath him. So this is likely to be the last offensive set piece of the first half. Brazil looking to double their money here. In by Neymar, out by Arevalo. Alves with the throw. Hulk. Tapped out for Forlan. He's looking to prompt Suarez quickly. Not short of talking points. Shaken head of Luis Suarez indicates the grey-faced feel of Uruguayans brought about by this strike from Fred, following up on Neymar's originally saved goal-bound shot. cleverly steered in by Fred, really cleverly done. And see the smiles on the 60,000 who surround him, and the embraces of the immediate 10 who surround him. Brazil in party mode. Scolari celebratory too. 45 minutes to cling on to or to add to that lead. Julio Cesar, the other Brazilian hero, saving a Forlan penalty early in the half. It is feisty and it is thrilling. It is right on the edge, and at half-time in Belo Horizonte, it is Brazil 1, Uruguay 0.
He's a good passer of the ball. He can set up opportunities, and also when they do lose the ball, Forlan can also drop in and sit on the edge of the defensive third and wait for the ball and then set up the attack. Because I think they've got to a point now where they can't keep playing the formation they are, because they've got two very effective players in Suarez and Cavani doing far too much defending.
Yeah, I think he'll probably wait, 20, maybe 30 minutes before he's going to put subs on.
Well, I think seven players behind the ball. If you can't defend with seven, then there's something wrong.
Yeah. All right, let's go back to commentator in Belo Horizonte, Peter Drury.
Just waiting for the officials to get into position. All here. Gorgeous scene. Sun setting over the stadium. Tens of thousands of yellow Brazilian shirts ready to be celebratory and to send their national team on the road to Rio for the final. Just a sprinkling in the light blue of Uruguay, who had their chance, let it slip away, and now have to chase it. Marcelo. Taken back by Pereira. Cavani. And Luis Gustavo. And properly cleared by Oscar. Truth be told, in terms of beautiful passing and cohesive possession and wondrous ball skill, perhaps in the first half wasn't quite the Brazil-Uruguay game we might have hoped for. More attritional than pretty, and there's another challenge that underlines that assertion. Pereira in hard on Hulk. It's not a game for the Warriors on either side, as opposed necessarily for the Aesthetes. But it is that intensity that makes it feel like a still special occasion. Luis. Hulk. Fred. Rodriguez. Forlan. No one more eager than him for Uruguay to find a way back into this. Rodriguez. Pereira. Rodriguez. Suarez. Luis with a semi-clearance. Pereira following up. Cavani equalises! Now that changes the mood. Goal, La Celeste. Edinson Cavani finally impacts on the Confederations Cup. And it is right back in the mix. Those in the tiny minority have their moment. So many times Brazil might have got this away. Luis struck it against Suarez. Weak clearance from Silva. Spearing finish from Cavani. And 3 minutes into the second half, we are back where we started. His 15th international goal, his first of this competition, off the back of a 36-goal season for Napoli in Italy, which has rendered him one of the most talked about strikers, both in South American and European club football. Napoli wants someone to pay 50 million euros for him. If they're to prize him away, he is that valuable to them. The rich clubs in England are queuing up. But Thiago Silva, one of the most accomplished defenders in South American and European club football, was at fault for that weak clearance. Now Neymar has gone to ground. And has got another free kick. Which he conspires with Marcelo. Whipped in by Neymar. Headed away as far as Dani Alves, who speculated. Muslera cleared in a hurry, hoping he just might pick out Suarez. Slow wide from Neymar, who can run at Pereira. Pereira kept his eye on the ball. And Gonzalez forward again by Luis. Gets Forlan. Fed it in for Fred and moved it on for Neymar. Hulk, Godin's challenge, referee was close and gave nothing. A few thousand behind the goal who gave a penalty. Another big call for Senor Joses. Fred. Paulinho. Caceres has time. Rodriguez. Gonzalez. Lugano. Pereira, Cavani. See Pereira penalised and with a long journey back. It's Godin's shoulder-to-shoulder challenge with Hulk. If a penalty had been given, you would have said it was a soft one. Luis. Neymar. Muslera came. Oscar. Uruguay got enough bodies around it to dig the goalkeeper out of potential trouble there. Possibly ill judgment from Muslera as Neymar tries to raised the crowd. Flung in by Neymar. Hoiked high by the goal scorer Cavani. On by Forlan. Back in by Alves. Neymar. Neres hurried clearance. Cavani. With Forlan in an offside position. Paulinho. Alves. Paulinho slipped. Rodriguez capitalised. Forlan's onside here. Thiago Silva was calm. Cesar away. Adevala. Gonzalez. Pereira. Suarez. Nicked away from Forlan by Thiago Silva. A fault for the goal, but to show again what an immaculate defender he generally is, and denying Forlan with that touch. Header forward. Back for Neymar to chase. Pereira can watch that out. Is there to be a Neymar moment before the afternoon is out? Suarez. Forlan beaten to it by Thiago Silva. Suarez. Gonzalez for Forlan. Forlan had a fly. That's a little fanciful. First 10 minutes of the second half have gone, 10 minutes which contained Edinson Cavani's equaliser for Uruguay. In a country where they haven't won for more than 20 years. At the back of Fred. Holt lining up behind the free kick. It doesn't lend itself to his left boot, and he has scored from extraordinary distances. It's Hulk. Muslera taking no chances. Strikes the football, it stays struck. In by Hulk. And all the way behind. Throughout his time with Porto in the Portuguese league, Hulk became famous for scoring from extraordinary range. That has continued with Zenit St. Petersburg. And perhaps aware of that reputation, Muslera was taking no chances by attempting to catch. It was a wise choice. There's Gustavo. Squeezed away from the challenge of Gonzalez. Paulinho. Here's Gustavo. Dani Alves. No problem for Cavani. Smartly clear of Oscar. Suarez fouled by Marcelo. Took a little bit of the ball, but a lot more of Luis Suarez. Marcelo. Still not quite happening for Brazil with the frequent fluidity that has sometimes been evident in their previous games. Some edginess about it. Lugano. Free kick in favour of Silva. For Alves. Hawk went tumbling. Referee saw no foul. Caceres emerges. Forlan's ahead of him. Suarez here wide of him. Forlan, Suarez, Caceres. Back for Cesar. He clears in the face of Suarez. Dani Alves. It's a brave header from Lugano. Fred absolutely within his rights to try and apply foot to ball. That's what he's there for. And Lugano utterly understanding of that. It's a good moment of sportsmanship. Cavani couldn't keep that in. Great credit there to Diego Lugano for indicating to Fred that he bore no malice. Fred had to try and connect and score. That is a foul on the Neymar by Gonzalez. Neymar. I saw a little glimmer of light at the near post. Special players do from time to time try special things, which don't always work out. Pereira's throw. Foul by Suarez. A great roar in the stadium, and that is because a local boy is preparing to come on. Atletico Mineiro's Bernard, born and bred, Belo Horizonte. Saw what it meant to the people of Salvador when Dante scored for them the other day. The arrival of Bernard has lifted the crowd. They love him here. Good win by Luis. Neymar. Oscar. Fred. Hulk. He's asking a lot. As mentioned, of spectacular goals. But here's the boy. He is little more than a boy. Look at him. Such innocent, useful looks. Born a little less than 21 years ago in this city. He's their boy. On the whole, in this place, you are either Atletico Mineiro or you are Cruzeiro. This wonderful stadium has hosted many, many of those derby matches down the years. Bernard in more recent years has represented Atletico Mineiro in that derby. And it is the little local lad who gets a big chance now. In place of Holt. Incidentally, Mineiro certainly with a stronger club last year in the Brazilian league. Atletico Mineiro came second, Cruzeiro ninth. Mineiro won one of the derbies and drew the other. Alves, Oscar. Bernard. Immediate up, raising in the volume when he had the ball. Marcelo. Cavani's tackle was clean enough. Had to be. Oh, settles for a throw. Marcelo, who will hope that he can go home at the weekend. Was a good tackle from Cavani, nothing wrong with that. Marcelo, a proper Rio boy. Denied by an immaculately timed tackle from Cavani. Free kick for the foul on Gonzalez. Forlan to take. Godin is a threat to Cesar, so is Lugano, the two centre-halves. Whipped in by Forlan, oh, just over. Suarez dashing at the near post, getting ahead of his man. And seeing his header deflected over the crossbar. Non-stop live wire, Luis Suarez. Forlan's corner. Out as far as Rodriguez. Further clear from Luis Gustavo. Bernard, nice touch from Marcelo. Bernard again now. He's nippy and quick. Marcelo. Alves. Bernard. And still. Bernard. Fred! He's impacted well. The little substitute. It's an excellent Brazilian break. Uruguay were mighty close themselves. Suarez got ahead of Silva, and Silva got a little lucky. His defensive header flying over. And at the other end, Fred's volley flying over. Fred, Oscar, Alves, thumped against Adavalo, Alves, whipped away by Pereira, Forlan's prepared to chase, and Silva sees it back. A quarter of the game to play. The Estadio Mineirão. Elton John played this in March. Paul McCartney was here in May. Beyonce visits in September. None of them will have made as much noise as the crowd in here this afternoon. Oscar. Clear of Caceres. Beyond Bernard for Marcelo. Neymar. Into the face of Lugano. Out to Bernard. Niftily clear of Cavani. Marcelo. Bernard. That's a really good ball. Oscar. Neymar! Now that would have been a thing of beauty. That was proper, tight, penetrative Brazilian passing. Paulinho's throw. Bernard has made a real difference. Oscar. Paulinho. Away by Lugano. One again by Silva. And a foul on Suarez by Alves. Away by Alves. Valid for Gonzalez. Cavani. Gonzalez. Rodriguez. Forlan. Rodriguez just too heavy a touch. Away by Gustavo. Wide again from Arevalo for Suarez. Nicked on for Forlan. Forlan's cross, Suarez offside. Rodriguez wide, but it didn't matter. Bernard. Neymar. Fred. Oscar. Alves. Fred. Bernard. Up by Godin. Inside the last 20 minutes. Oh, it's line one up! To Muslera. Saw it all away. Gustavo, a bit of speculation from a fair way out, but it was a piercing strike from the Bayern Munich man. He's never scored for Brazil. Scored 4 goals in the Bundesliga last year. Another Brazilian change upcoming. Before Uruguay get on with their throw. Pereira, Cavani, doubled it up into a corner. And now the change will occur. Oscar has played probably more football than any other player at this tournament for Chelsea and Brazil over the last 12 months. Wouldn't be surprised if his legs were feeling a bit heavy. And Lazio's Hernandez comes on as a replacement for him. Forlan's outswinger, Luis with a good header out. Hernandez with his first touch. And now the counter led by Alves. Taken up by Paulinho. And here's Marcelo. Good challenge by Caceres. Paulinho overhits his cross. evening for football in Belo Horizonte. Oh, Gonzalez has gone and clattered that into the face of Neymar, really needlessly. Whether deliberately or otherwise, the referee will have to decide, but you can understand Neymar's irritation, because that didn't have to happen. The volcanoes are coming together of Cavani and Neymar, but then Gonzalez followed up and gave it a right crack. As a result of which he has been booked. Neymar. Dani Alves. Dispossessed by Suarez. Uruguay have only Forlan forward. And Brazil had plenty back. One of them was this fella, Ananes. Alves, Paulinho. Alves, Bernard. Paulinho. Fernando Muslera backpedaling and holding on well. Cavani under pressure from Alves, and the referee has gone to his pocket again. And this time he has booked Dani Alves. That's 5 yellow cards in the game. A bit worse challenges than that one. But, Alves is nevertheless deemed a sufficiently serious offender to receive an official caution. Yellow cards before this game, 38 of them in 12 games. Just over 3 per game, so we've gone beyond the average here. Only 2 red cards in the competition were shown in Recife the other day in the one-sided game between Uruguay and Tahiti. Gonzalez. Alves. Last quarter of an hour. Unless there's a further goal, an extra half hour will be tagged on at the end. Say again, the last 2 competitive tournament games between Brazil and Uruguay have gone all the way to penalties. Caceres. Forlan taken off it by Gustavo. Bernard. Neymar. Marcelo. Tackle from Pereira, Brazil's corner. Neymar to take, Luis Gustavo getting into the mix at the near post. Neymar bypasses him, Muslera gets good distance on his punch. Bernard. Thiago Silva. No. Without any inconveniences, there's a man with a camera behind the goal. Thiago Silva, week in, week out for Paris Saint-Germain, before that Milan, and indeed whoever has employed him. An impeccable defender, but it was his moment of weakness which allowed Cavani to equalise, partially to delete the memory of Forlan's early penalty miss. But that'll still cause him pain unless Uruguay steal this sometime in the next 12 or 13 minutes or extra time thereafter.
apologies for having lost commentary from Belo Horizonte. Let's pick it up from the studio. It's 1-1 between Brazil and Uruguay. Brazil in possession now. This is Hernanes. David Luiz bringing it forward. And Marcelo with a cross. And interception. A timely interception by Godin. And the Uruguayans under pressure now. But one wonders whether the ghosts of 1950 are returning. In that famous World Cup game, Brazil went ahead. There was an equaliser by Uruguay, and the Uruguayans went home with the World Cup after scoring a winner in the second half. Neymar with a corner as we await the diagnosis on one of the Uruguayan players down. Second semi-final tomorrow between Spain and Italy, don't forget. But this one is even Stevens and on a knife's edge at the moment with 8 minutes to go in normal time. Substitution by Uruguay. So Godin is okay. No, it's Gonzalez, in fact. So I wonder whether he's going off or not. Yes, there is a substitution. So number 5, Walter Gargano will be coming on. Dula, how do you see it at the moment as we await this corner, which will be taken by Neymar?
Yeah, I think Brazil have made a couple of good changes. Bernard has come on and he's done really well. He started out on the right there. So now they've got the momentum again. You can see there's a lot of fire between, especially against Neymar. They've been trying to really foul him and get him off his game, but they need a goal. It looks like it's going to be going into extra time.
So Neymar's corner in. 2 heads up for it, including David Luiz, but the volley from Marcelo way over the bar. The shooting has been a bit off by the Brazilians today. We have commentary from side back, so let's go back to Peter Drury.
Manchester City in the Champions League. And Gonzalez of Lazio disappointed to be withdrawn from the action. Twisted awkwardly then. I think he's going to be okay. Gonzalez wandering past Neymar and an exchange that didn't look altogether amicable. Or maybe it was. Not sure that love is entirely sincere. Marcelo wins a corner. Cavani has done really important defensive work for Uruguay today, quite apart from the goal he has scored. And, there are more little exchanges inside the 6-yard box here that the Chilean official is really having to keep an eye on before Neymar plays in another corner. Brazil back in front. Paulinho plunders at the back post. They're within 5 minutes of the final. A great heap of Brazilian joy. And Paulinho joyously at the bottom of it. However young, however old, however new to the bright-eyed look of Brazilian football, they are all united in joy and relief at the big leap of Paulinho and his sure header, which means that the host nation are closing in on a Rio final. A goal against Japan in Brasilia in the opening game for Scolari and Brazil for Paulinho, and now a goal here that is more than likely to secure them a place in the closing game, the final itself. So hard on Uruguay, who have competed so vivaciously throughout. But they can't hear themselves think now. Can Suarez come up with some magic? Can Cavani chase on and win them something? Throw-in given against him. Well, whoever they face now, if indeed they can hold on for these closing moments, it is sure to be an exceptional occasion in Rio on Sunday. Whether against Italy, against whom Brazil have already played, a terrific game in the group stage, or Spain, the world champions, it is going to be worth watching. Winding up Lugano, who had less than complimentary things to say about him prior to the game. Lugano looking to tease. And then going to ground, and the referee has taken a view here which is in favour of Uruguay and Gargano. Godin and Lugano have had enough of him. Uruguay desperate to get on with it. Brazil want to hold it up. There's certainly nothing friendly about it now. Paulinho potentially the match winner. Alves, Paulinho, Bernard. And still. Free kick finally against him. He has done his reputation no harm at all in the short while he's been on. And here's the little wrestling match between Neymar and Gargano. And out of that, the referee deemed that Neymar was more offending than offended against as we head into 3 minutes stoppage time. Suarez. He's got a free kick. Brazil to make a change as they seek to see out these closing moments. Dante, who scored them an improbable goal against Italy the other day, is desperate to get on there. And will do before the free kick is taken. So there is going to be time added on to the end of stoppage time. Neymar, perhaps for his own good, is the player withdrawn, because things were getting a little prickly where he's concerned. No goal for him personally on this occasion. He's not exactly hurrying off. The referee is asking him to get a move on. He'll get there when he can. Dante on to help defend it. Forlan to take it. Uruguay almost out of time. If it's going to happen, it's got to happen very soon. In by Forlan and headed over for a corner. They've committed everyone forward. They are committing everyone forward. The goalkeeper is coming up. Fernando Muslera joins in. Could this be a moment of great drama? In by Forlan. Out and away from Muslera. Gargano must get there first. And can't afford to lose possession now, nor does he. Caceres. Gargano. Suarez. Luis Suarez. Corner given. Suarez hoped for more. And once more, Muslera will strike forward. 30 seconds of stoppage time to play. Forlan to take, right at the death. Now or never. Cesar comes. Brazil get it clear. Only to Pereira. Aravalo. Out as far as Bernard. Foul on him by Pereira. Brazil have a free kick and 48 minutes are up. They are nearly there. And Suarez trying for a penalty. He didn't get. The final whistle goes. Get ready, Rio. Brazil are coming home to you. For the third time in a row, for the fifth time ever, Brazil will play in the Confederations Cup final. But this time is different, because this time they are at home. Brazil in Brazil, the beating heart of football. A year before the World Cup, all the good habits are flooding back. The good feelings, the way it historically has been. Much sympathy for Forlan, who had that penalty chance in the first half and saw it get away. Much sympathy for Uruguay as a whole, who competed so hard. But Brazil have done it their way. They are in their final. The Maracanã will be a magical place this Sunday. Final score in the semi-final, Brazil 2, Uruguay 1.
So Brazil remain unbeaten at home in 24 matches now. And that stretches back to 2001 when they last lost a home game to Paraguay that time. And they are in the final in Rio at the Maracanã on Monday morning our time against either Spain, the world champions, or Italy. So a thrilling match to watch, Franny. We never knew where it was going to end, even though Brazil dominated the game, possession-wise, certainly. But it was an unpredictable football match. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think pretty much right towards the end, really. The game was in balance. I think that even though, as you said, Brazil had the more possession and seemed to have more control of the game, there was always that opportunity that Uruguay could get a chance and score.
And all you need is one mistake like the one made by Thiago Silva,
yep,
and they're back in the game.
That's exactly right, and that's the thing about it. But look, I mean, I think credit to Brazil. They kept their composure and kept playing, and yeah, what a brilliant way to win it at the end. 86th minute with Paulinho. It's an absolutely brilliant header.
What did you think, Zrilla?
Just great scenes. You could really feel the rivalry in those especially the last 20 minutes. So many fouls coming in, and it was a good decision to take Neymar off, because he was starting to really get caught up in the emotion of it. He was fouled quite often, but Just so much history in this game, and you're right, where, you know, that goal went in so early in the second half, and then all of a sudden Uruguay just had that feeling like it might be our day after all, because they had a couple of chances. There was the deflected one that just went past the post. I think it was by Cavani again. Anything could have happened, but I think the changes by Scolari were quite good. He brought on Bernard. He's a home boy, local boy. He did quite well. Hernandez came in, and then they just started to get back on top and got the goal at a very good time.
Tomorrow's game, Spain versus Italy. Looking ahead, just to quickly, how do you think that's going to go?
Look, I think Italy are struggling, without a question. Spain are at the zenith of their game right now. They're getting better, so I would expect Spain to win comfortably.
And you, Zwiller?
Yeah, look, Spain are dominating. They're, you know, Italy have been up and down, and Italy have conceded a lot of goals. So everything is pointing towards a Spain win, and you know, but it should be a great game nonetheless.
And the so-called dream final between Spain and Brazil.
It's looking likely.
Let's just, before we let you go, look back on the major events of this game this morning, the goals that is, and 41 minutes was when the first went in. Just talk us through this. This was very good work by Neymar, Zwiller.
Yeah. Well, firstly, he came short to get the ball, then he's running behind and the ball over the top, but he still had a lot of work to firstly chest that down and put it in a nice position for him to have the shot. Muslera came out and made it difficult, but that was a good finish by Fred, because when that ball comes out, you can see the pressure from Lugano comes out here and makes it very difficult, and he had to put it firstly into the ground, but also with the side of his foot, try and get in the corner, and he's done that. So that was a good finish there. And then obviously this was Thiago.
This was the equaliser, Franny. What was Thiago Silva thinking here? I don't know.
Well, yeah, you could blame him, but then there's a series of mistakes. I mean, we can see that even before that mistake, we had the botched clearance by David Luiz before that, and they've had the opportunities there. There's another chance there. And then Thiago Silva, unexplained, he's tried to overplay there. I mean, in that situation, I think you're probably best to try and get the ball away. But a lot of the times we try to encourage kids or trying to encourage people to play out the back. Maybe in that situation, it probably wasn't the appropriate time to try to do it. And yeah, they conceded a poor goal. Yeah, this is just a great header here by Paulinho. He's just timed his jump really well. Caceres was marking him. I'm not sure that was a good match. Caceres is really a left back. I'm not sure that he's noted for his aerial skills. So to be marking someone as big and as strong as Paulinho, I think they'll be looking back at that.
He does have a knack for goals. Yeah. As Julia, just the Brazilians that I speak to, the cynical ones, the demanding ones, are saying that this team might be good in the Confederations Cup, but they're not good enough to win the World Cup. They're not going to be good enough to win the World Cup. What do you think?
When you look at Spain and you see how they're playing, you know, I think they're at the top of their game still, and their time is not over yet. Brazil, I was really impressed. I think they're doing very well, but yeah, whether they win the World Cup or not, it's a hard one. I can see them doing it and at home, but at the same time, you could see in the game today and coming up against Spain, that's going to be a real test, just to see the difference between the two sides, because I still think there's a gap there.
Yeah, I think it'll be a game, I suspect, between the two bookies' favourites for the World Cup going into next year, if that turns out to be the final.
Yeah, look, I look at the level of play, to be honest, and I still see Germany as probably superior, and I see Argentina as superior at the moment to this Brazilian side. However, Brazil will have their home advantage, and I think that's going to mean a lot. That's going to make a big difference. So, but in saying that, you know, I said just Spain, Germany, Argentina. I can see a winner coming out one of those three.
Well, I still think that I like Brazil in this World Cup next year. I like their chances. They've got so many talented players, not all of them match winners like Neymar, but playing in top European leagues, which gives them very, very good experience. So stand by. It's going to be very exciting month or so next year. Thanks, boys, for this morning.
Thanks, Les.
Thanks to be with you. A quick reminder of what's coming up your way right here on SBS. The Confederations Cup is, of course, back with the second semi-final tomorrow morning, featuring Spain and Italy. That's at the same time, 4:30 a.m. Eastern on SBS 1 and streamed online. then the young Socceroos have a must-win game on Saturday morning at the FIFA Under-20 World Cup as they take on hosts Turkey. Make sure you join us from 3:45 a.m. Eastern on SBS 2 or online. And this weekend we begin the 100th edition of the Tour de France. Here at SBS, we have more coverage of the iconic race than ever before. Every stage of the world's grandest cycling race will be shown live and exclusive in HD, starting with Stage 1 this Saturday at 10 p.m. on SBS 1, HD and streamed online. And on Sunday afternoon, we begin the netball final series with the major semi-final between the Adelaide Thunderbirds and the Melbourne Vixens. That's from 4:30 p.m. on SBS 2. So plenty to look forward to. As always, highlights and reaction from the Confederations Cup will be up online shortly at sbs.com.au/theworldgame. But that's all we have time for you right now. Thanks for your company this morning from the team and the World Game. Have a great day.
If you love somebody, better tell them why they're here, 'cause they just may run away from you. You'll never know quite when, well, then again it just depends on how long the time is left for you. I've had the highest mountains, I've had the deepest river. You can have it all, but now keep moving. I'll take it in, but don't look down. 'Cause I'm on top of the world, hey. I'm on top of the world, hey. Been waiting on this for a while now. Paying my dues.